Rocky. I haven't done one of these live live analysis 15 minutes after the market close. Look at me. I really haven't done this in a while since I'm stumbling through my words. But anyway, right now it is December 19th in 2023, 1:15 p.m. in the Pacific Coast. And before we get started, just putting a disclaimer there. This is just really for information and entertainment purposes and should not be relied upon as basis for investment decisions. So I wanted to go through some of my trades today, just a quick analysis on there. But before we do that, I always first let's start with the posts that I make. So these are all the evaluation accounts, and essentially, something that you may have noticed is I am trying out Top Step. So I'm doing evaluation accounts for Top Steps and Apex. I only am trading with one Apex because that's the lead account that I need to use for the Apex trade copier. So I did a content on that a few weeks ago if you missed it. So you can actually trade from two different funding firms or prop firms. I like to call them funding firms. And also a live account, which I am slowly going to put some cash in, and I might start trading this soon as well. And in a few weeks, my Apex will actually reset since I bought the 90% a month ago. And basically that renews after a month at 80%. So we will try to, try that 20 accounts again. But as of right now, I just have 5 accounts. And across these 5 accounts, it had a total of $826.54 for the evaluation accounts. And just to clarify, okay, this is not real money. This is paper trading. So on the start of the journey for a funding firm, you need to prove to them that you're able to trade with consistency and that you're profitable. And only after then will you be in a performance account or express funded account, and that's when you can get payouts for your progress on there. But those 2 accounts, they are all paper trading. So I think that's the problem with not having traded live before. If you haven't traded your own money, you'll never really appreciate this, and that's why a lot of people fail a lot of these, including myself. I started failing it because it started becoming more of a game instead of understanding that it's real money. Because, for many years I traded my own money, but I got to a point that I needed that money to fund my expenses. So I had to withdraw it, and I'm trying out this funding firm so I can get more cash again in my account, and I can go back to live trading my own account, hopefully in a few months. But anyway, I'm rambling there. I'm just pointing out my progress. As you see at the net liquidity here, there's some practice accounts on there that I don't know how to remove, so that's why it's in the snapshot. But with the 4 Top Steps account that I have, I need to reach 53,000 to get to the express funded account. And then for the Apex, it's actually below the starting point of 25,000. But with this one, I need to get to 26,500 to become a funded account. Anyway, that's the quick summary there. And then I'm going to bring CNBC here. That's just an update on another epic week, right? Santa Rally closing the year pretty strong, pretty much. The Dow Jones was up 251 points, S&P 500, up 0.6%, and Nasdaq is up 0.6% as well. I focus again on Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's what I'm used to. It's a lot slower than S&P 500 and Nasdaq, and that's okay with me because I don't scalp. I don't trade big contracts. I only trade with one contract at a time. So, all right, we'll go to Thinkorswim. This is where I do my analysis. Like what I mentioned, I no longer trade on here because I don't have the money. And with Thinkorswim for YM, let me just take a look. For YM, I would need 10,000. Let's show you the number so you understand this. Here you go. So for YM, you would need $10,560 to trade one contract of YM. And of course, with NinjaTrader and the Apex firms and whatnot, essentially you only need $500 of intraday margin to trade one contract. That's a big difference, right? But for you to hold it overnight, you would need it at least $10,560. So that's the difference there, and that's the reason why I respect the number of contracts very well, because the fact that you can trade so many contracts with so little money with those funding firms, it really takes away the reality of how leveraged futures is and how you should be really very careful. Anyway, a lot more rambling than I wanted to, but I now want to talk about the 3 trades that I took today. And before we get started on that, apologies here, I didn't get my pen started right away, so I can show this a little better. But okay. All right. So on the left, the usual time-based chart. On the right is tick-based chart with Heikin-Ashi. I am going to zoom in to the time-based chart first, and I'll go through this first trade that I did here. And this is the trade that I'm actually happy with. And I left some on the table, but I just want to show it to pretty much prove to you that you need to believe in your system. It gives you a high probability. It's never 100%, but you need to believe in it. So with this one, I went short on this trade. So heading down, our average was 37,883, which is that white line. And the reason that I entered is if you look at the stochastic RSI, which I'm going to show right now, on the stochastic RSI, you can see that it's on the oversold side, and that's when I like to short. And then you can see on the MACD, it had crossover and it started to diverge, and that's when I like to short. And with this trade, it was nice, profitable trade that netted me, I want to say at least 12 points, which is 12 points with the 2 contracts I was trading for YM. That's $120. So for that one trade. And with this one, what gave me confidence is if I held on a little longer, it would have been at least 50 points or so. So it got down to the 30s. So I know that I was in the right place, but I've been keeping my stops really tight because the volatility, it can always flip on you so quickly. So I'm okay with that because I'm locking in profits. That's why the top step actually works for me, because with the Apex, if you get that unrealized profit and it drops down, it's actually hurting you. But with Top Step, it does not. So that's why I'm trying out that other funding firm, which works more with my strategy. So that's the one short that I did. I'm going to switch to the tick-based chart just to show you that same exact trade and what happened there. So on that same exact trade, that's when I shorted. The signs are there as far as the candle goes. And then on the tick-based indicator, essentially, you can see that I was a little more aggressive with this entry. The stochastic RSI wasn't on the oversold yet, but I just did an aggressive entry on that one because I was seeing some momentum on it. And then you can see on the MACD, it also hasn't quite crossed over just yet, but it was definitely headed there based on this histogram. So this histogram that you're seeing here, you can see that the color has gone from bright green to less a darker green, which showing that it's starting to converge. So the MACD was starting to converge here. It ended up crossing over. And because my stop is so tight, you can see when it moved up. Let me change the color. You see when it moved up here abruptly, it protected me because that could have gone the opposite and I would have been underwater. So I'm keeping my stops a lot more tighter right now. Again, when I have more money or more buffer rather, I'll do my best to widen that stop a little bit, but it's been working for me so far, so I will stick to what's working instead of trying to reinvent the wheel there. So that's trade number 1 that I want to talk about. The next trade I want to talk about, because I did a total of 3 trades, is this one here where I went long. So, I was actually showing you the wrong one on the previous one. My apologies. Live content, right? Live content. My apologies. So, on that tick base, this was actually the trade that I should have been showing. So I went short here. And if you look at the indicator, that's the reason why that I did enter. You can see that it was in the oversold side and the MACD had crossed over. So my apologies for that. just shows I haven't done live in a while. But anyway, okay, that was trade number 1. Now we'll go to trade number 2 for the day. Trade number 2 is the one in the middle here that I'm going to zoom in on. So trade number 2 is a long position that I took, and I'll make sure to look at the time stamp a lot better this time. Keep me honest, guys. So this one I went long. This wasn't, that's not a good color. Let's use yellow. So this one I went long, and my average on this one was 871. So let me circle that 871. So it's 871 right here. That was my average for this entry. You can see it was underwater a lot, so it wasn't actually the best trade. This is where I say it gives you a high probability of being right, but it doesn't always work out. I'm going to go to the indicator to show you why I entered here. The reason I entered, the rules that I have for myself, right? I'm on the overbought side here. That's why I entered. And then at the MACD, at that time, it had crossover when I entered. But of course, it's a lagging indicator, so it wasn't showing that. So just for consistency here, this is 10 a.m. Pacific Coast. So I'm going to go to the equivalent tick-based chart. And on the equivalent one, you can see right here, 10:01, same thing. I was going long because at that time, this had crossover. So that was a positive signal for me that it was a bullish signal. And also when I entered, it was pretty much on the overbought side, and that's why I entered. But unfortunately, with this trade, I will go to the time-based chart. Unfortunately, with this trade, I was underwater a lot, and by the time that it was above water, I pretty much took very little profit on it. I did not want to wait any longer. But the great part about it is it's a confidence builder, because if I zoom out a little from that one trade, even though I exited right here, you can see the progression up after that for the next 20 minutes. Actually got up about 20 points or so. So 20 points, that could have been at least $200 I made, but just because I was underwater a lot here, that actually just affected how I was going to approach it. Because I knew it was a bad entry, even though my thesis is right. I just told myself, take the profit, take a breather, and move on. So that's what happened to trade number 2. All right, final trade that I want to talk about here. And before I go through on my final trade, I just want to... Actually, no, let's go through the final trade, and then I'll talk about the last 10 minutes of the market, which I used to trade, but now I'm avoiding because anything can happen and it can definitely blow up your account. So I'll zoom in on trade number 3 here. On trade number 3, we went short. So gonna draw that. Short means, you're hoping for it to go down, and that's how you make money. And going to the time-based chart here. On this trade, my average was 876. All right, so 876 is right there. I know they were really close to each other, so it's hard to see the numbers. And then with this one, you see the white line barely here. You can see that I was actually underwater again for the most part of it. So it was a little tough. It's really tough when you're trading and it's very choppy, but it is what it is, and I'll show you why I entered this trade. So on the time-based chart, let's be consistent here. The time that I'm showing here is 11:15 a.m. Pacific Coast. And the reason why that I shorted was it had crossed over here on the MACD. And then at the time of entry, it was on the oversold side, which is when I like to short as far as stochastic RSI goes. And switching to the tick-based chart, the indicator itself, consistency again, the time we're showing here, close to 11:15. So time and tick-base aligns there. And you can see here at the time of entry, it had crossed over because I told myself I'd be more disciplined. Instead of going aggressive, I'm making sure that my indicators show what it needs to be as far as my rules go. And then here, the stochastic RSI was on the oversold side. So even though we were underwater for a little bit there, I'll show you the tick base chart. It was a decent trade for an entry of 76 from this one candle right here, which had a range of 20 points. I think we were able to profit at least 15 points from that trade, and that's the reason why. Even though my trades were nice and simple, right? I'm trading with one contract for the 25K accounts and two contracts for the 50K accounts. Even though I could trade more, I've been burnt by it. I'm trying not to rush anymore. For a while there, I was trying to get to that 20 accounts and make a $40,000 payout, but I need to just remind myself it's a process and I just need to take my time. Okay, before I end it, I just wanted to show you a trade that I didn't take, but I enjoyed watching in a sense. So it was in the last 10 minutes here. I was actually considering going long on this position. I wanted it to go up, right? So it was around this time that I wanted to go long. I know this is hindsight 2020, but the candle I wanted to go in on is this one right here. And if I go on the indicator, the reason that I wanted to go long is here, right? Just to proof of concept here. Stochastic RSI was on the overbought side, and the MACD had crossover right there. So that's a bullish sign for me. And I'll look at the tick base chart. And let me zoom it out a little bit. On the tick base chart, I'll just draw where I would have entered. Right there. On the tick base chart, it's also showing overbought on the stochastic RSI. And then you can see here on the MACD, it was starting to diverge, and it's a bullish signal. So it's one of those where it's a what if kind of trade. But if I had entered that one, you can see Dow Jones Industrial Average hit an all-time high. So it would have been about 80 points or so. So let me just circle that. So the possibility there, about almost 80 points. And with the two contracts that I was trading times 10, that would have been $800. Oops, it's not working, but there you go. But it is what it is. I told myself, take the small wins. You don't need the big wins. You don't need one that you can show off to social media. Just small steps and I'll get to the finish line. All right, so that was a 15-minute content, a lot longer than I should have, but hopefully you enjoyed the analysis that I did. Give me some feedback, please. Let me know if this was helpful or not. And I know I haven't been doing my Friday content, but as soon as I get my evaluation accounts passed and we're in the PA accounts, that's when I'll go back to showing progress, what our P&L is. And yeah, that's what I got. So it's the last full week of trading for 2023. So make the best of it. And next week, with Christmas and New Year, market shut down, a couple of days there, try to spend time with family instead of the markets. But I'm going to tell you, I'm still going to watch the market because I enjoy doing this. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I shall see you on the next one.